have a lot of trouble in general processing their emotions. First being able to feel them, and then if they can actually feel them and not deny them because they're not the emotions that they feel that they're expected by either their parents or society to have, then they also have to process them after that. And that can be very, very difficult to actually look at things that are tough and I don't know, do things like cry or get angry or something like that. And I mean, I think the stereotype has a lot of truth to it, that men have quite a lot of trouble with that. Whereas my friends who are female are perfectly okay crying when they're upset. It's not an uncommon thing to have a hangout where one or both of them cry. Between like my wife and her female friends, and I even see it with female friends of mine. But it's much tougher to imagine a hangout that's pretty normal one. There's not some big thing that happened, someone died, where the men just kind of have a cry. And well, that doesn't have to be the emotion of choice, sadness that's being processed. Emotions in general, feeling and processing for men, that's been a tough thing, and not one that's necessarily desirable to have as a man for certainly my childhood and my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, is that your experience too?
Well, I'm a little different because I was raised in Southern California. I guess you could describe that as a culture that prizes self-discovery and emotional expression and creativity a little bit more than the norm from what you would find in other parts of the country and within the other micronations and cultures of our country. I'm also involved with the arts and have been my entire life. So emotional expression has been a big part of that. Now, I will say that what I've experienced is, well, I experienced it last night. I'm part of a men's group, and the men, a lot of them are representing more traditional modes of masculinity. They're firefighters, policemen, first responders, businessmen, fathers. And I got on there, and something I've been learning to do again is improvise and break out in song, like what you'd see in a movie musical. And I did that, and everyone laughed and it was fun, but I immediately had like the so-called vulnerability hangover. And I had this residue from growing up. When I was in high school, I was very expressive and I was in theater. And so other teenagers, especially guys from the football team, which is even a football team I played on, but they would always call me the F word, right? They'd always say, "Oh, Alan Gaskell's gay." And as a teenager, I found that very hurtful. And so even though I was encouraged growing up to be more expressive, I still ran into feedback sometimes as a teen and even later on, like, "Oh, that dude's weird. Oh, that dude's exuberant and emotionally expressive, or he sings or dances or whatever. That's weird." Mm-hmm. And I still have that vulnerability and that wound of being ostracized or being called a name, which is great feedback for me because that makes me go lean in more and do it anyway. I'm still trying to like heal that part of myself, that part that you've made reference to, which is like, whoa, our culture seems not to value certain kinds of expression from gendered males, and then it values others.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I've always noticed about you too, is that's part of your nature, is you're extroverted. You have, you're in touch with the side of you that when you meet actors, you would see, where you have more physical expression. You're a musician. I mean, you're good at all this stuff. And to me, that makes you particularly interesting. And not just because those things are fun, but because it's very different. And you point to such a great cultural difference that it's like, I got to remember who I'm talking to. a person that grew up in the LA area, and who is in, like, I don't know if you were in like a drama society or club or something like that, is going to see that that's okay more. I mean, there wasn't anything like that where I grew up. There was no like, I mean, there was plays, but most of the guys wouldn't be a part of it. And I know we've come a long way. Like, I really believe that this generation is just so much more accepting. It's a totally different world from East Coast Long Island, where I grew up. But it was more acceptable for you, but you still have that wound, it sounds like, because there's enough just everywhere you go.